But first of all, just maybe a little bit more about me. Not about me, but about why I'm here. Not just an English accent to moderate the event, but yes, Max Hunter, Chief Joy Officer of a company called Motivators at Work. Therefore, we have a really high stake and passion for employee engagement and what drives motivation in the workplace. But first of all, we'll start with the first bit of that lower third, which is a Chief Joy Officer. So first of all, yes, it is a real title. Yes, it is a real job I had on the executive of a company based in Zurich. But first of all, I'll tell you what a Chief Joy Officer is not, okay? Because when I'm at conferences, remember, we used to have conferences and shake people's hands. When I was at conferences and I'd say, hey, and they'd look at my badge and say, Chief Joy Officer, I'd get a few different kinds of reactions. Yeah, a bit of laughter, a few smiles, a lot of curiosity. But first of all, let me tell you what a Chief Joy Officer is not. Okay, so a Chief Joy Officer is not about parties once a month. It's not about handing out massages. Sorry. It's not about beanbags in the office or free gym memberships or table tennis tables or even, I'm afraid, beer in the fridge on a Friday. There's nothing wrong with any of those things at all. But they are to an extent what I call the plaster over the wound. It's a bit shit to work here, so here's some things to help you make your day a little bit better. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but it's certainly not what a Chief Joy Officer's role was all about. So what is a Chief Joy Officer's role? Well, I painted a vision for when I was on the exec of that company, which was to create a place to work where when people woke up on a Monday morning, they would say, great, I can't wait to go back to work to make a difference. That was the vision. I can't wait to go back to work to make a difference. I remember the first time that I expressed that vision in public was at an HR conference in Brussels, actually. And the crowd laughed when I came up with the vision. Yeah, a bunch of HR crowd laughed at the concept of looking forward to going to work on a Monday morning. Well, that's the aim. And all the beer in a fridge on a Friday, or fruit bowls, or parties next month, don't make you wake up on that Monday morning and say, I look forward to going to work. It's about all the, let's say, more important stuff, right? It's about your colleagues. It's about how you do your work. It's about the autonomy you have. It's about your boss, of course. It's about all of those things and more than just what are now known as the perks. So when I left that role as Chief Joy Officer, started Motivators at Work, and crystallized everything that we'd learned from that, as well as from all the research and experience, to look at what does drive that Monday morning feeling, what does drive that motivation. And we highlighted 4 key motivators, 4 things that can release that potential for driving motivation at work. And they look a little bit like this. The first one is called I belong. This is that sense of belonging to a tribe. We are all tribal animals and tribal creatures. And we are hardwired to want to belong to that tribe. That's how we went from being arguably one of the weakest physical species on the planet to practically running it, for bad or for good, because we came together in tribes, connected, divided labor, and worked together. So we need to feel that sense of belonging. In companies, that's about sense of belonging. That's my team. Do I like the people? And are we in this together on the same purpose? The second thing is called I am seen. This is, as part of that tribe, I as an individual am recognized and acknowledged for who I am and what I do to contribute towards the tribe's success. A lot of people turn to me and say, come on, we're grown-ups, we don't need that, do we? Yeah, we do. And the more research we do and the more experience we have, I think we all know that is necessary. I don't feel valued. How often do we hear that? The third thing is it's my thing. This is all about loving the content of your job, loving your day job, looking forward to doing what you do, being in flow, losing track of time because you're enjoying what you do. And also as a consequence of being the expert or that's your thing, you don't get overruled by your boss or your boss's boss. You have the autonomy to make decisions, which to an extent leads us to the fourth thing, which is called I am growing. This is all about having new challenges to grow oneself into a bigger space, to develop and have those challenges, very importantly, having the support from others to help you achieve them, whatever support you need, that you're not just left to struggle alone. So that's the 4 keys to releasing that motivation in the workplace. The 2 at the bottom, we call those the things that bind us to where we are and what we do. So we call these the roots. And the 2 at the top is all really about harvesting the fruits of our labor. So we call these the fruits. It may not surprise you to therefore hear that we call this the roots and fruits framework to understand what drives motivation and potential in the workplace. Of course, employee engagement is very closely, if not intrinsically linked to that motivation as well. Anyway, now I want to hear from you. So switch back on. I want to hear from you. What I want to understand from you is, for you personally, and I know that all 4 are important, but for you personally, when you reflect on these 4 things, which of these 4 things is most important for you when you go to work? We've opened another polling question for you. In fact, it's exactly that question. And that polling question is, what is most important for you of these 4 elements of the roots and fruits? Is it about belonging? Is it about feeling acknowledged and recognized? Is it about that it's my thing and that autonomy and loving what you do? Or is it I'm growing, that having new challenges and the chance to develop? I'm really curious. I'm genuinely really curious about what it is that you're going to come up with for us right now. It's a really good chance for us to do a large poll to see where that's at. So let's see. The results are coming in. Interesting. So all of them are represented. That's a good sign. Very few people say I am seen. But when they're not seen, we do often get then, that's when it starts to come up. So I'm glad you feel recognized and acknowledged, most of you at work. So yeah, it's my thing and I'm growing. So a lot here about the fruits, harvesting the fruits of our labor at the moment. But I belong in there as well. Good, thank you. Super interesting. We often get extremely different responses. And this one is all about the fruits. So good, thank you very much indeed. Now I'm going to ask you to think about what that means for an organization. So, okay, it's all well and good to have nice, happy, motivated employees. So what? Asks your CEO. Well, of course, if people feel they belong, they will collaborate. We reduce that silo mentality, which I think we know happens a lot. When people feel seen and acknowledged, they will step up and take on more stuff with that confidence. If people are growing and developing within the organization, then you can promote from within. You don't have to look outside. And of course, if people are doing things, making decisions, loving what they do, having autonomy, that's where innovation happens, which of course, all of which leads to company growth. So now, back to you. Think about your organization, the one that you're in right now. Forget about yourself for a moment. Think about how the organization operates. And which of these 4 elements do you think your company, your organization, could do a better job at? Which one is missing? Which one needs a bit more work, a bit more effort? So the votes are already coming in. I see that you're getting used to this whole polling thing now. Good to see. There will be more pollings from a number of the other speakers as well as we go. So let's see. A slightly more even spread of what your organizations are good or not good at. Even spread for the first 3. So even though it's not that important for all of you, those first 3, the roots and the first fruit. But interestingly, you don't see that your organization is doing the best possible job at giving you that chance to develop yourself and have the challenge. Interesting. Bear that in mind, because think about that, because hopefully you're here to take back to your organizations something to make a difference. And now you know. Now you've just told me and yourselves and each other, what is the one thing most important that your organization could do a better job at?